Ugly Kid Joe, depending on who you ask, is either a relic of hair metal, or they were a comedic, hard-partying band with a pretty diverse background, or they were simply both. Despite not envisioning they'd ever get a record deal, the band had success come pretty quickly, and in today's video, we're going to take a look at the detailed history of the band. The constants in Ugly Kid Joe's lineup has always been guitarist Klaus Eichstadt and frontman Whitfield Crane, who grew up a block away from each other in Palo Alto, California. Crane's father would split when he was young, recalling to Loudersound. My dad split when I was young, and that was tumultuous for me growing up. I always tried to fill that void. I liked sports and whatnot, but then I found Black Sabbath's Paranoid. I was hooked immediately. And all those Halford, Bon Scott, Ozzy, Ronnie Van Zant, Hendrix became like my father figures. At the time, Palo Alto was considered pretty middle class by the members' own admission, but with the rise of Silicon Valley over the past 2 decades, that's drastically changed. Funny enough, Crane would admit to Loudersound that his sister still lives in Palo Alto, 1 block away from Google's co-founder Larry Page. While the future musicians attended the same junior high, the pair wouldn't meet until grade 8 at a dance where Crane offered Eichstadt a joint. Crane would recall to a Boca Raton paper, "Klaus and I were the total opposites of chick magnets. We were like chick repellents, kind of loner type guys." Crane would go on to remark that he always got the pair in trouble, while Eichstadt was great at getting the pair out of trouble. It was following high school the friends ditched Palo Alto, feeling that it was too serious, relocating to Santa Barbara for school. They eventually moved not too far away to the college party town of Isla Vista, just outside of Santa Barbara. It was here in 1989 that Ugly Kid Joe would be formed, and Eichstadt and Crane started rehearsing in a small car-sized room with posters of Public Enemy and metal bands on their walls. The band's music would be inspired by the likes of Judas Priest, AC/DC, early Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses, Metallica, Megadeth, and Red Hot Chili Peppers. The band went through several monikers, initially calling themselves Overdrive, and later on SWAT, which stood for Suburban White Alcoholic Trash. They would even call themselves Regurgitated Anal Vapors. In their early years, the band were desperate to play any club or open for any band who would have them. According to Spin magazine, it was a sympathetic club owner in Santa Barbara who offered them a chance to open for the glam rockers Pretty Boy Floyd. The band was ecstatic, thinking that Pretty Boy Floyd would draw a lot of females to their show. For that particular concert, the band came up with their permanent moniker, Ugly Kid Joe. Eichstadt would recall to Spin, "I said, let's go with something dumb like Ugly Kid Joe, opening for Pretty Boy Floyd." Everybody kind of chuckled, and we were like, yeah, it'd look pretty funny on the marquee, and we could give $1 off for ugly chicks or something. Unfortunately for the band, the gig got canceled, but Eichstadt had already drawn the band's logo, the kid he envisioned to be Ugly Kid Joe. He would end up taking his drawing to a local Santa Barbara artist named Moish Brenman, who worked at a local Santa Barbara skate shop. The band would pay him $14 to draw the logo, and paid him in snacks as well, including a Mountain Dew, a candy bar, and a bag of Doritos, according to Spin magazine. Crane would tell Spin, "The Ugly Kid Joe character is a precise amalgamation of each member of the band." Ugly Kid Joe soon recorded a demo, and the tide started to shift in their favor, and they soon started playing to crowds of hundreds of people. The band, by their own admission, had no dreams of signing a record deal, instead hoping that one day maybe the local radio would play their music. It would be a local DJ named Will Carlin who got his hands on the band's demo and then passed it on to an entertainment lawyer who eventually became the band's manager. That demo tape soon landed in the lap of Mercury Records A&R man Bob Scoro, who signed them to the label. Scoro would tell Spin magazine, "From the get-go, they completely hooked me. It was just their simplistic hooks and melodies, mixed with that irreverent, rebellious, and defiant, yet very non-violent attitude they've got. All their lyrics are these great little stories." But the band were a little weary of record labels having heard numerous horror stories about them. Mercury Records in particular had groups like Def Leppard, Bon Jovi, and Cinderella on their rosters, groups that the members of Ugly Kid Joe thought were a little too safe. Despite their reservations though, they signed with Mercury and they would begin work on their first release. Eichstadt would remark to the Orlando Sentinel, "We were so new, we had literally 9 original songs. We didn't feel actually ready to get signed. We couldn't even make a full album yet." The band, not wanting to be a flash in the pan and spend boatloads of money on their first studio record, concocted a plan with their label to first release an EP. Mercury thought that maybe they could put out an EP and sell 15,000 to 20,000 copies, and build some buzz around the band, and then they would do a video for $5,000 that ended up being the music video for Everything About You. Spoofing the hugely controversial Two Live Crew album As Nasty As They Wanna Be, Ugly Kid Joe's debut EP would come out in October of '91 and be titled As Ugly As They Wanna Be. The release would be recorded on the cheap, only costing the band and their label $12,000, and be done over the course of a week. The EP proved to be a massive success, becoming the first EP in history to go multi-platinum, thanks in large part to the single Everything About You, which rocked MTV and the radio airwaves. The song was written as an answer to what the members thought were cheesy big ballad bands of the 80s. Eichstadt would tell Loudersound, bands like Whitesnake, Bon Jovi, and the Scorpions were huge then, all doing these big ballads with hot chicks in their videos. There were so many love songs, we were kind of anti that. So with Everything About You, I was like, okay, f*** you. Eichstadt would claim to Loudersound that the guitarist Chuck Berry and Poison CC DeVille served as the inspiration, while the rap part at the end took inspiration from the Chili Peppers' early works, most notably Freaky Styley and the Uplift Mofo Party Plan. But the song, strangely enough, was almost forgotten about. The track dated back to 1987 when Klaus was at his parents' place one day and came up with a riff to the song on the piano. The song sat for nearly 4 years, and it was once Ugly Kid Joe formed, they noticed they didn't have a lot of songs in their set list, and they soon flushed out the song and added it to their live shows, where it garnered a positive reaction. And Everything About You was a top 10 hit on the pop charts and also had success worldwide. The song would also appear in the first Wayne's World movie, and while it appeared in the film, it strangely enough didn't show up on the soundtrack. According to Billboard magazine, there was a special way that Mercury Records promoted the group's first EP. When the band first got signed, the label helped get the album into small mom and pop shops where traditionally bigger labels hadn't sold albums to. According to Bob Scoro, he would say, none of the major distributors sell to mom and pop shops. That's where the young rock and metal lovers go. That's where the buzz starts. It would also be a Denver radio station, KBPI, who moved the single from their metal show to regular programming. And within a few weeks, Ugly Kid Joe had the most requested song, only trailing Metallica. Soon enough, the band played Denver, and local retailers could feel the excitement behind the group, and MTV followed soon after. The video would be shot on Isla Vista Beach, complete with a blow-up doll that actually got loose during filming, giving some anxiety to the local air authorities at the Santa Barbara airport. It would result in the authorities closing down the airspace around the airport. The band were at one point supposed to write music for the 1992 film Encino Man, but they would be kicked off the project at the request of Disney head Michael Eisner. The band's first EP contained a song called Madman, which described an axe-wielding man on the loose in Disneyland. Eichstadt would tell the Orlando Sentinel, I went to Disneyland here in Anaheim, and God, it's such a happy place. Everyone is smiling and waving. It's a total fantasy land. I said, what if someone went psycho there and ruined their whole image? It wasn't just Disney who weren't fans of the band, as critics were pretty brutal towards them as well. The Chicago Tribune would describe the song Everything About You. The single, which has a novelty song kind of appeal, pretty much sums up the entire 25-minute disc, which is a cacophony of funk, rap, lame choruses, and old jokes. Other papers, meanwhile, like the LA Times, claimed that the band would soon be forgotten about since grunge was taking over. But the criticism did little to hurt the band, with Eichstadt telling Spin, we're not really into the deep stuff. The element most important to us is humor, obnoxiousness, and fun. Even Chris Novoselic of Nirvana sneered at the band, telling one interviewer, there's no stuff like Big Black or Butthole Surfers coming through and charting. It just seems to be stuff like Ugly Kid Joe. Despite critics not being fans of the band, Ugly Kid Joe did get some high-profile touring spots, opening for the likes of Ozzy, Motorhead, and Def Leppard. The band would soon follow up their EP with their first full-length studio record, 1992's America's Least Wanted. The album also featured a surprising cover of the Harry Chapin song Cats in the Cradle, which became a huge hit on rock radio and MTV, giving the band their second top 10 hit. The single Everything About You and the song Madman, which was on their first EP, would also appear on their first full-length studio record. The first single from the LP would be the track Neighbor, which showed that the band still had a twisted sense of humor. Neighbor would be a goof on Mr. Rogers and be written about a drunk who moves into the perfect suburban neighborhood only to ruin it. The album would be another success, selling over 2 million copies and peaking at number 27 on the charts. However, Ugly Kid Joe would soon land themselves in trouble when in 1993, during the tour for the record, Crane would be arrested after assaulting a security guard at a Columbus, Ohio show. Prior to the band recording their follow-up record, 1995's Menace to Sobriety, they enlisted new drummer, which would be future Godsmack member Shannon Larkin. Menaced to sobriety saw the band head in a heavier direction, and they by their own admission thought the title was fitting given just how much partying and drinking they were doing at the time. But changing musical tastes and a lack of support from the record label resulted in the album underperforming. Despite the problems, the band still landed some pretty high-profile tours, opening for Van Halen and Bon Jovi. It was following the promotion for the record that the band talked to their manager in an effort to get out of their contract with their label, which they did. They soon signed with an indie label who put out their final record for the time being, Motel California. It wasn't too long after this the band broke up. Crane would admit to Loudersound that it was a combination of factors that led to the group breaking up, including the musicians just being sick and tired of each other. Crane would admit in other interviews that by the mid-90s he was even sick of the band only being known for Everything About You, and they even soon stopped playing the song as part of their shows in addition to Cats in the Cradle. It was following the dissolution of the band, Crane briefly fronted the New York metal group Life of Agony, and he would go on to team up with other musicians including Machine Head guitarist Logan Mader in a group called Medication, and he did a few other projects as well. It was in 2010 Ugly Kid Joe would reform, and they would release an EP in 2012 called Stairway to Hell, and they even opened for the likes of Guns N' Roses and Alice Cooper the same year. Since then, the band has put out several more releases, including 2015's Uglier Than They Used to Be, and most recently 2022's Rad Wings of Destiny. That does it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. As always, if you have suggestions for future topics, use the link in the description box below, and we'll see you again in Rock and Roll True Stories.